Welcome to Oddball. I'm Charlotte Wilder. That's Amin Elhassan. Amin, I am very excited because today we have a special edition of Oddball. We have a guest. Yeah. And that guest is a senior columnist for The Athletic, former TNT sideline reporter. He is a recipient of the Kurt Gowdy Award from the Naismith Hall of Fame. Heard of it?
Hall of Famer, yes.
And his book, The Basketball 100, which he wrote with John Hollinger and the Athletic staff, drops today, November 26th, with a foreword by Charles Barkley. Nice. Please welcome David Aldridge.
Yeah. Man, that sounds impressive coming from you, Charlotte. It sounds like I actually have accomplished a little bit in my life. That's good.
Well, I hate to break it to you, David.
I think you might have. Woman. Be my hype woman the rest of my career, please. That's really good.
Before he walks in a room anywhere, Charlotte's got to do the intro.
You know
yeah, like a little bit more WWE voice, though. Like a little bit. Right. Promoter.
Yeah, that was great. Thank you.
David, congrats on the book. Thank you so much for coming and joining us today. How did the idea for this book come about?
Well, it started in 2021. The NBA did its 75th anniversary team, and they picked the top 75. We said, let's do that too. We could do that. So we picked our top 75 players of all time, and we had a series and rolled out over 2 months or 3 months, player a day for every day for 3 months, getting up to number one. And then after that series ran. Our people at The Athletic that handled the book side came to us because they had already done one for baseball and one for the NFL. And they said, could you expand this into 100 and make a book out of it? And we were like, yeah, we can do that. So it took us, a year and a half kind of to pick the last 25. We didn't take anybody out of the original 75. We wanted to keep everybody in. So we did that. We added 25. We had to move people around because of adding 25. But it was a labor. But we had a great staff. Rob Peterson, our editor, is tremendous and really was the Sherpa that led us to the promised land. He was something. So John and I were along for the ride, and we did a lot of the culling of the list and kind of talking through some guys that we were debating, and then writing a couple of the extra pieces that we needed. And so I can't remember how many I did like 9 or 10 of the 100, and John did like 9 or 10 of the 100. And then we each had an additional essay that we did. I did history of the 24-second clock, and John did his what he calls GOAT points. Yeah, to kind of try to put a number, make this something that can be arrived at statistically in terms of who's the all time.
DA, take us inside those debates. I know John is a pretty opinionated guy. You're an opinionated guy. Where did you guys, to say the least, that's my polite version. Where did you guys differ on the most, and how did you resolve those differences?
It wasn't as bad as you might think. Like, we weren't screaming at each other or throwing at each other. It wasn't like that. It was just kind of like, yeah, it was just kind of like, well, what about this? And then what about this? Like John was passionate about Jimmy Butler being in, right? So like he really was working Jimmy Butler. And now at first I wasn't quite sure I agree with him, but he made the case and it was very compelling once he made it. And I was very passionate about Dave Bing because I think Dave Bing doesn't get remembered by a lot of people.
The mayor.
But he was one of the best guards in the league for 10 years. You know what I mean? Like that gets you in the discussion. So I think we all came to it from a position of, I think all of us know a little something about what we're talking about, when it comes to basketball. So nobody was like, that's a ridiculous idea. Like we all were, it was all kind of like, all right, that makes sense what you're saying, So at the end of the day, it was really more about, I guess, where we put guys in terms of numerically as opposed to the actual people. We had a couple of people that we went back and forth on, some of which are in the book and some of which are not in the book. But it wasn't really all that bad. It wasn't like, it wasn't first take. I'll just put it that way. You know what I mean? Like, it just wasn't, that's not how we
almost roll. As if that's a manufactured kind of debate, one might say. Sorry. So, DA, I want to talk to you about this season because something has happened, which is that the Cavs were undefeated through 15 games. And I love the article you wrote about how they're too nice. And you say that they don't have any ass on their team and you need at least one to win a championship. How do you see that? Do you think someone could fill that role for the Cavs, or is it possible that we could see a team win with nice guys?
I mean, like they put Max Strus out there, because he played in Miami, so he has to, you know what I mean? Like, all right, like I'll give it a shot, like I'll see if, but I think, I don't know how much Max, where his minutes are going to be by the end of the season. I mean, he could be playing a lot, he could be have a significant role. Seasons always kind of reveal themselves, right? So you don't know in November what the rotation is going to be like in May. But I would say, I'm not sure that, Max is going to impact games enough to be that guy, like maybe he will. And I've gotten some static from people about that, but I think if you go back and look, it's pretty clear. You got to have one, you don't want three. That's too many, but got to have one. And people were like, well, who was the ass on the Celtics? I said, their head coach was the ass.
I was just going to ask.
Was the ass. Complete ass. In a good way. I say that in a good way. Like, I'm not tripping. Like, you need a guy to be unsatisfied at all times.
The fact that you got static for it, all I could imagine was you got the most polite static. Sir, I take umbrage to what you have alleged.
Cavs fans were clapping back at me like, well, that's ridiculous. Like,
So by the Joe Mazzulla doctrine, is it not fair to say Kenny Atkinson can be the ass because he's got some ass tendencies? And I say that I don't know.
I guess he could be. I like Kenny, and I've known Kenny a long time, so I don't think of him as an ass. But I suppose he's certainly going to be different to his players than he is to me. So that's possible, I guess. But I've never seen that. Whereas Mazzulla wears it. Mazzulla's like, I'm proud to be a jerk. Like I don't.
It's his brand.
Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's his thing. Like, he's cool with it. Like, so he doesn't mind wearing that black hat at any time. We'll see. We'll see. Now, I mean, you could make a trade for somebody that handles that. Tristan, in the piece, Tristan Thompson said, well, it's got to be either, Donovan or Garland because they have the ball in their hands the most,
right.
But the way they're trying to do it this year is they want Ev to have the ball more in his hands. And Evan is the farthest thing from an ass that you could possibly have. Like, he's one of the nicest kids I've ever talked to. He's just,
it's DA. That's why I said the Cavs, believe it or not, I don't think they've hit their ceiling because it's being held down by the fact that I think Evan Mobley needs to be a little bit more of an ass. When he makes that maturation of saying, F give me the ball, get out of my way, then I think they can take it to another level.
Yeah, you might be right. I mean, I think I do think it's, I think it's probably got to be him, right? Like, I don't know if Darius is a nice, when I say nice, I'm not being pejorative. I'm not saying I can't, he's soft. I'm not saying that. I'm saying he's a genuinely nice person. Like, he's not tripping off of himself. You know what I mean? Like, so, but you just need that Draymond guy on your team that is going to be ornery and nasty because you got to fight for a championship. They don't give you championships in this league. You got to go fight for it. That means you got to set a big screen sometimes. You got to do some things that people don't want to do. I remember there's a person there is a multiple-time NBA champion, I'll put it that way, who told me the pursuit of a championship takes you to some dark places. You know what I mean? Like, you have got to go to some dark places to win this thing.
Yeah.
And Jeb Bristol said that, huh?
How did you guess? No, this is grown man business. This is not for children, so you got to have somebody that will do something. You got to have Kevin McHale got to clothesline Kurt Rambis. That's what I got to do to win a championship. I got to clothesline Kurt Rambis. You willing to do that? Nah, it's not for everybody. is not for me, for example. I couldn't do it. But Kevin McHale said, I want that chip. And he's in the way. That's what we got to do. So you got to do that's an extreme example, but that's what I'm talking about.
We talked about Jokic yesterday.
Yeah.
What level, where does he fall on the ass scale?
He's not an ass in terms of, my mother would just be devastated that I'm saying the word ass.
This is a good step. This is a good step.
I don't think he's like, he's not, no, I don't think of him that way. He's an ass to the media, but that's different. That's not what I'm talking about. Like,
right.
That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about on the floor.
He's got it.
He's got a toughness. He's got a toughness to him, to be sure.
Remember Markieff Morris? Markieff Morris.
Yeah, they got
Booker,
guys. They got plenty of guys.
He's done that to guys. He's had the maybe
that's true. That's true. Yes, he did do that. You're right.
He shoved
you ain't gonna punk him on the floor now. That's true. But he's not like verbally, or certainly not. Right. He's not like setting bad screens or anything like that. So he's ish, I would say, like, ish, ish, like can be.
Let me ask you this, because we're looking at this roster and we're saying they don't have any of those types of guys. Historically, can you remember a guy who transitioned into becoming that kind of guy? Maybe wasn't that at first, and then either learned due to the circumstance or just by being around long enough.
It's also interesting because what we're talking about a little bit is confidence too, right? Yeah, is like the ability to be in yourself enough and be confident enough in you and your team to know that you can push those boundaries.
Yeah. Well, that's where Draymond is one of the best ever at, right? Like he'll yell at Steve Kerr. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, that's what I'm talking about. You need somebody that is, like, to your point, Charlotte, is so confident that they're right that they'll step to the coach and say, F you. That's not what we're going to do. And you have to be able to handle that kind of conversation. But I don't know. That's a good question. I can't think of anybody offhand that wasn't like that became that. That's kind of like a WWE thing. He's a heel now. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if that would really work, if that's not who you are, if that wasn't in you to begin with. Right. But let me think about that. Like, I don't know. Nobody comes to mind. I just think that, again, if you go back and look, everybody has one of them dudes. Like for the Bulls, it was Ron Harper. You know what I mean? Like, Ron Harper just not a nice guy on the court. You know what I'm saying? Like, so
Mike was enough of an player for everybody too.
No, that's true too. That's true too.
Definitely. We're talking about guys who could wear the villain hat, right?
Yeah.
And you got the opportunity. Yeah, you got the opportunity to report on and to build a bit of a relationship with the former NBA commissioner David Stern. Amin and I have been talking about, some of the stuff that, speaking of Joe Mazzulla as well, where, he says guys should be allowed to fight, or, there was just a bunch of things recently. And, Amin was saying that David Stern would have come down very hard on Mazzulla for the things he's saying, and maybe, and deservedly so. How do you think he would have handled the way Mazzulla is conducting himself?
Maybe he might have, David didn't like to remind people that the league was built on fighting. No, I shouldn't say built on fighting. There was fighting in the game when it was created, when it started. Guys fought with fans in the stands, coaches fought with fans, and referees fought with fans. Like that's what this league was built on, was confrontation. And so, but David wanted to walk away from that and sanitize it to make it more palatable for Madison Avenue. And I get all that, but so would he have fined him? I don't. Maybe. I think what he would have done is call him and cursed him out and said, don't say things like that anymore. Because that was how David handled things. Like I tell people all the time, you ain't lived till you've been cursed out by David Stern. Like, that's a whole different type of experience.
Describe the experience. What's the most creative curse out you've ever had from David Stern?
Also, walk us through it. You get the call and you're like, how does it feel?
212, is it a 407?
407. But when it would but see, the thing is, when you get to 407, it could be, you have to know the suffix, right? So the prefix is 407. 407 could be any PR, could be something from PR. It usually was something from PR. would call to be complaining about something that I wrote or said. And that's okay. That's their job, is to spin me. And that's okay. I don't mind that. But when it was his secretary, when it was Linda.
Oh, Linda.
This is Linda from Coach Stern, from David Stern's office, Commissioner Stern's office. Do you have a minute for David? And you would just go, oh, Lord. And David, when he died, I wrote this thing about him. And I always said, David always started off like he was your doctor. Like he was your, what do they call him? Your GP? Like,
yeah.
Oh, I have the results of your yearly exam. And here they are. And it would start off very quietly, like he was just talking to you about your blood work. Well, there's a couple of things here, but it's not that bad. You need some statins or something. Like,
Yeah.
And then he would just build and build and build to this withering sarcasm. Like, just I can't even describe how bad the sarcasm was. Like, he just made you feel like the dumbest person in the history of the world. And then the F-bomb started, and then it crescendoed like the last act of a great opera. When the aria comes out to the conclusion. It was just, I can't even describe it. It was volcanic. His anger was volcanic. He was so angry it was almost funny. Like that. You didn't laugh in the moment, but afterwards you're just like, damn, I can't. It's hard to believe a man could get so angry about something.
Right. You're like, I wish I cared enough about something to get as angry as David,
to get this angry,
to put on that performance.
And it was performance. Exactly, Charlotte. It was a performance designed to get you to change your behavior. And once you realize that, it didn't hit you so hard, but you still have to go through that. And it was something. He was a force of nature, and players have told me when they got called up, like Iverson and Sam Cassell have told me stories about getting cursed out by Stern in his office. Like, it's just like, you can't believe where he goes with it.
Wow.
Man, I can't believe I say that every once in a while, every couple of weeks, I say to myself, man, I miss him, man. Sometimes he's the hero Gotham. He's the hero Gotham needs, right?
Yeah.
So, all right. So NBA Cup is in full swing. Last year, you wrote that the NBA Cup was fine, but you wish the league would stop trying to shove it down our collective throats. How do you feel about how they've been handling the Cup this year in year two? And how do you feel about just Cup play in general?
Yeah, I think they're a little better this year with it. They're not quite as over the top. It's still a little bit too much for me, but that's okay. It's not made for me. I understand that.
It's not for us.
It's not for us. Like, and to me, again, I hate to do this because the league thinks I'm picking on them. I'm really not. But I would just say, if winning the Cup was so valuable, why did Darvin Ham get fired after he won the Cup last year?
Well, when you put it that way, David,
you know what I'm saying? Like if it was the biggest thing, it was one of the biggest accomplishments the coach would have. Why did the Lakers fire him? So I would just say that, and I would, if they would just be more transparent and say, you know what, we're trying to come up with ways to make the regular season more interesting and make more people watch regular season games. That's what we're trying to do. If you would just say it, I could at least live with you say, at least you're being honest. But to say that this was something that we're paying homage to English Premier League soccer and all the UFA Cup and all that, like, stop it.
Oh man.
So that's where I kind of draw the line.
Well, listen, we will have more with David if you're watching on YouTube or listening to the pod after the break. Otherwise, stick around for Hot Streak. Welcome back to Oddball. We are here with Athletic senior columnist David Aldridge. DA, you wrote the new book, The Basketball 100, with John Hollander and the staff at The Athletic. It's out today and tells the story of the league through its 100 greatest players. And we thought, since you have so much practice ranking things, we're going to play a little game. We're going to play start, bench, cut. So we're going to give you three things, and then you tell us what order you would put those things in.
Okay.
Does that sound good?
Let's do it.
All right. I mean, you want to kick us off?
Sure. This is fun. Coach that you would not want to make mad. Coach that you would not want to make mad. Your options are JJ Redick, Joe Mazzulla, and Greg Popovich.
Oh, that's easy. Mazzulla is number one because I think Mazzulla is. I think Joe would stab you. I think he would. I think if he had the opportunity, like, I think he'd shank you. I think he'd have a little thing. I think he got it in his pocket, like he's ready to go at all times. Like if you cross him, you're getting one in the ribs. I think that's what he would do. Like, I mean, Pop. Pop gets mad. When I've seen Pop mad, right. I mean, he does get mad and he does curse you out. Like, I mean, right. So probably Pop second. I mean, I guess I'm sure JJ has a temper. I've never really seen it. Like, I mean, I think he has to have more of a tough skin because he had to be JJ Redick his whole life, and right. Be that guy that people hated. So there's some toughness there to be sure, but is there like volcanic anger?
JJ strikes me as like when you talk about withering sarcasm with David Stern,
right?
But minus the volcanic eruption that ends at the end.
Yeah, I don't think he's like screaming and throwing things, right? Yeah. But yeah. So I feel like
I
would steer clear Mazzulla.
Yeah. JJ's stern anger, I think, or like quiet stern anger would probably scare the daylights out of me. Mazzulla, I think you're right. I think he would just put you in one of those, MMA holds and then
exactly, just choke
and then there you go. Okay, David, you need one guy to make a clutch free throw to win a title.
Okay,
start bench cut: Ray Allen, Steph Curry, Reggie Miller.
Wow. This is a distinction without a difference here, because I'll take any one of the three. Like, I really don't think there's any separation between those three in terms of clutchness.
Yeah.
I mean, and I don't want recency bias to jump into this. So like,
The problem is the question is free throw, and free throw for these guys is like a layup.
Yeah, they all shot 90. Like, like, so there's really not much. I mean, I'm sure somebody, one of them has
a 3.
What if we change it to a 3?
Yeah.
A 3. Okay. Well, how can I not pick Steph then?
All three of them are great at that too, but I feel like there's more separation here.
I have said and written that Ray Allen made the single greatest three-pointer in the history of the league. Game 6 against the Spurs in 2013, because I believe that. I guess I'd have to say Steph for a 3. Like, how could you not? Like he's been so clutch for so long, and not that the others haven't been. I guess I'd go Steph, Ray, Reggie in that order. And I say that Reggie was great. I saw all of Reggie's greatest threes. Like,
yep.
He was unbelievably clutch. So that's a tough one.
That was a tough one.
Yeah.
This next one may be easier. I mean,
okay.
You have to pick someone to compete in the dunk contest this year.
Okay.
So this is this year, not all time. This is just this year.
Right.
So you've got Ja Morant, you got Anthony Edwards, and you've got LeBron James.
Ant 1 for sure. Ant 1, Ja 2, LeBron 3 for this year, because LeBron's 40 and he just doesn't dunk like he used to. Like, I mean, he can still obviously get up there when he needs to, but if you're talking about 23-year-old LeBron, I'd go LeBron 1, but you weren't talking about that. Ant is something in the air. He is amazing. He's explosive and powerful, and I hope they don't try to sanitize him. Let that kid be himself. I mean,
it's gonna end when they turn on him. Because
it's coming. What I mean? Like,
they
always try to sandpaper all the rough edges. No, that kid's a nice kid. He's competitive. He thinks he's the best player of all time. I love that. He's not, but I love the fact that he believes he is. So. I think you need that. And
he's funny too.
Yes. So don't take that. Don't try to make him into, don't try to homogenize him. Just let him be himself. This league has a way of trying to homogenize people. They literally, airbrushed Allen Iverson's tattoos off his body. You know what I mean? Like, don't do that. Don't do that.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
All right, DA, we have a part 2 question here. You need one guy. Sorry. You need one guy to make a clutch free throw.
Okay.
Ben Simmons, Shaq, current Shaq, Amin Elhassan.
Unnecessary. Just an unnecessary shot.
See, I'm going to go with Shaq 1 because Shaq, I'll make them when they count, which wasn't true, but that's okay. He made some of them when they counted.
There you go.
Yeah.
But he believed it. I go Shaq 1. I'll go Ben Simmons 2 because he's a professional basketball player. Like at some point, he's got to make a free throw. Like, And my man, I mean, come on. I've seen the tape. We've all seen the tape. So what am I supposed to do?
It was viral decontextualization. It was taken out of context. I'd made several in a row from that spot, which wasn't a free throw, by the way. It was a 3-pointer.
It was a 3.
Okay, I
digress. I digress. I would, if I had to answer this question, I too would say Shaq 1 because I've seen Shaq shoot free throws.
He's made some. He made some in the clutch
on the practice court. He's really a good shooter. But then he gets in the game. But like you said, he's made some in the clutch to win titles. So he goes 1.
Absolutely.
I put myself second because I feel like Ben Simmons is really worried about what everybody else thinks. And I'm not, clearly. So
that is a point. It's not an especially good point, but it is a point.
Yeah, there's a point. So
all right, let's get back to good questions here. All right. Places the NBA should place an expansion team. And this is a good one here. Your options are Las Vegas, Vancouver, Mexico City.
I'm going to go Vancouver 1 because of its proximity to Seattle, which is the only choice. Seattle would be 1, 2. I put 3 teams in Seattle. Let's put it that way.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Oh, I love Seattle. It's the best. Every NBA writer's favorite city. But Vancouver is close to that because Vancouver was great too. So I would happily go back to Vancouver, happily, in a New York minute. I have been to Mexico City twice, but I have not been to Mexico City in several years. Now I am told that they have built up a lot of infrastructure and, the arena is nice and that they could do it. I would have concerns about Mexico City as an NBA city, not for any bad reasons. It's just that, I think that there have to be certain structures in place in a town for it to work. I don't know that they're there. I don't know that they're not there, but I don't know that they're there. And the altitude is also a factor, right? So I probably go Vegas 2 because Vegas has shown it can support the NHL team, and it sort of supports the Raiders. Although when you ask people, it's almost always 70-30 visiting fans.
Yep.
Home fans. Because the visiting fans say, hey, here's a trip to Vegas. Let's all go to Vegas together. And they do. So I don't know if that's sustainable. Maybe it's the NFL. You don't have to do it 8 times. So maybe it is sustainable. I don't know. But I know Vegas can host events. I know Vegas can put on a show that makes sense. So I would probably put Vegas 2.
And it worked with their hockey team. Those games are...
Yeah, no, they've been great. They've been great.
So,
they've been great.
And the Aces.
Okay. And the Aces. That's correct.
Last one here, David. Start, bench, cut teams to get Cooper flag. So we've got Raptors, Wizards, Nets.
Well, I have to pick the Wizards. I live in Washington. Come on. I couldn't walk the streets if I didn't pick the Wizards. No, I would look, the Wizards, as you all know, this is like the most damning stat of all time. Maybe you don't know this. The last time the Wizards won 50 games in a regular season, just a regular season, not.
Oh, wait, hold on. Let me try answering this question. I know it wasn't John Wall. They won 49. John Wall and Beal.
Correct. That's right.
50, I'm going to go the championship season.
It was the year after the championship season, 1979.
Stop it.
Was the last year of this franchise. Charlotte, I wish I was kidding.
1979?
1979 was the last time this franchise won 50 games, which is the minimum benchmark for any team to be considered even a contending NBA team. Is the minimum is you got to win 50 in the regular season, right? Like it's mind blowing. That's how bad this franchise has been, and that's how bad they need somebody like Cooper Flag.
If they got Cooper Flag, do you think that would change, or is this a bigger problem than one?
No, I think it would. I think it would change. I think it would change because I do think that they finally, Ted Leonsis has finally brought some people in here who've actually had experience with winning franchises. So Michael Winger from the Clippers and Will Dawkins from OKC. I think they know what they're doing. The infrastructure is vastly improved and improving. They finally got a deal with the city to kind of renovate the arena and build a practice facility, which they desperately need. A new practice facility, I should say. They have one. It's not up to NBA specs. So that part is, but you still need horses. You need the talent, and they don't have it. They just don't have it. I think they've got a couple of guys that in time could be pretty good players, but you don't win in the NBA with pretty good. You win with superstars. Like, you have to have superstars. Like, it's pretty obvious. And they don't have one. And Cooper Flag has a chance to be one. I would say this. I do think that Ace Bailey has a chance to be a superstar. I really do believe that.
Okay.
I think he's got massive game. And Dylan Harper, who is Ron Harper's son, also has massive game. They're both at Rutgers this year. So any one of those three guys, I think, would be an immediate upgrade for the Wizards talent-wise. I'm sorry, your other two choices were Toronto and who?
Brooklyn.
Oh, I'm going to go Toronto, too, because I like Toronto as a city, and I would love to go there more. It's a great town.
DA is, you are the quintessential, you are my North Star.
What's in it for me?
It's in it for me. Like, where do I get to go as a result of this?
Where do I get to go? That's every NBA, every sports writer's lament is what's good for me.
And they're lying if they tell you otherwise.
No, of course they're lying. We all want to go. I got nothing against Brooklyn. I've been to Brooklyn many times. I like Brooklyn. But if you're asking me, would you rather go to Toronto or to Brooklyn for a weekend? I'm picking Toronto.
Wow. Okay. All right.
Toronto's a great town. It's
Billy Bishop Airport.
Yeah, I mean, I just think Toronto's a great city, and it's got diversity, which I love. It's got, and not that Brooklyn has diversity too. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying they don't, but I just think Toronto's got a vibe to it that I really like.
Well, we really like your vibe, DA, and we're probably going to make you come back on the show. Thank you so much for your time.
Anytime. I love talking to you.
Everybody, be sure to check out the Basketball 100. It comes out today. And we're just so grateful for your time.
Thank you all very much for having me. Appreciate it.
Welcome back to Oddball. Thank you to David Aldridge for his time. That was a lot of fun. Now, it is time for Hot Streak. Hot Streak is presented by DraftKings. Stay tuned because you'll hear more about DraftKings and all it has to offer throughout the show. DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Hell yeah.
There we go. Last week we had a streak going. It was a streak of one. Yeah. Does that count as a streak?
No, you got to have two for it to be a streak.
So we lost last, but this is not our fault because we bet on the Ja Morant-less Grizzlies to beat the Nikola Jokic-less Nuggets. And then the Nuggets won 122 to 110, even though they have the worst offense in the history of the NBA when Jokic isn't on the floor.
How do you let them score 122 points? That's my only question, Memphis.
Who did that even? Who was doing that? Who do you have to do that? So anyway, it's back to the drawing board. A new streak starts now. What games can we bet on,
Well, we'll start with the Minnesota Timberwolves, where Houston is visiting, and they are 3.5-point favorites with -110 on the books. Houston needs one more win in group play to clinch a spot in Vegas, where you and I will be, to witness the proceedings of the NBA Cup. The Rockets are +49 in 2 NBA Cup games, the largest margin of victory so far. And Ime Udoka has his team taking these games seriously. Where are you leaning, Charlotte? Rockets and the points or the T-Wolves? I think I misspoke. I think the Timberwolves are 3.5-point favorites and not the Rockets.
They are. I kind of think that I would like to take the Rockets, though, because you saw when Rudy Gobert didn't get out of the paint for a 3-second violation, and Ant was like, what the ever-living F are you doing? And Randall didn't give Gobert the ball. Gobert pouted. Just like, he received a tech. It's truly wild. I think that is a sign that things might be not falling apart, but like against a good team like the Rockets, I wouldn't bet on the Timberwolves to like pull together and make it all work.
You know what's crazy? Based on how our experience with this whole thing has gone, I'm going Minnesota.
Okay.
Not for any. It's because all my logic says Houston.
Yeah.
Houston plays hard. Houston is playing very well to start the year. And 3.5 points seems like a lot for a Minnesota team that really hasn't really gotten their shit together. And for all that logical reasons, I'm going to go the opposite. I think Minnesota covers the spread or Minnesota wins.
Okay. Before we lock that in, I think you're right. That we need to start second guessing ourselves here and not trusting our guts. So we could also pick something from Bucks at Heat, -2. Both teams are surging. The Bucks have won 4 in a row. The Heat have won 3 of 4. Giannis is leading the NBA in scoring, and Jimmy Butler had back-to-back 30-point games for the first time in a year. You still want to go with the Wolves?
I think I do, because I feel this one feels more of a toss-up.
Yeah.
Because you got two teams that are playing a lot better, that are rounding into form and all that, so it could go either way. The other one is like, everything is telling me, yo, Houston, which is why it's easier for me to say opposite, going for the Minnesota Timberwolves.
We should probably flip a coin at this point, because
knowing our luck, it would land like right on its side, like straight up and down.
It's also wild that the Bucks are 6th in the East, even though they're under 500. It's like, are the regular season, like, is this too much for them to overcome in terms of actually when they get, I mean, the East is such a mess. I don't even know how to talk about the playoffs.
2.5 games back from the 3 seed. Forget about like being a game under 500 and a 6 seed. They are 2.5 back from the 3 seed. We are essentially in a place in the Eastern Conference where it's like all of your tests in a class in college were optional.
Yeah,
it's all optional. Nothing really matters until we get to the finals, the finals week.
Crazy.
And so that's where we're at. Like all of these teams, Indiana 7-10, 8 seed right now. They are 3.5 games back.
It's crazy.
Philadelphia 3-13. Oh my God, everyone hates each other. What's happening here? They are, what is that? 7 games back of the 3 seed. Which again, all right, that's a bigger gap, but also, we have most of the season left.
And we're talking about them like they're a massive train wreck, because they have been. And yet, okay, so here's the bets we have to pick. We could do Rockets +3 against Minnesota. I always say that. We could do Mini -3 against the Rockets. We could do Bucks +2 against the Heat, or Heat -2. We've got to do Wolves -3.5 against Rockets.
I'm going Wolves -3.5. It's they have the most to overcome, right?
Yeah.
So like the Rockets just have to they could lose the game and still win us this bet. Bucks and Heat, it's within a bucket, right? Like Minnesota has to win by at least 2 buckets, whether it's a 3 and a free throw, whether it's 2 layups, whatever. They got to win by that much in order for us to win, because it seems like, oh, this is a terrible, they haven't even been playing well. That's the one.
Lock it in. And that's it for Oddball.